I'm Jack Infinity 203, and I am here to talk to you guys about The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, starring Ryan Reynolds, Samuel L. Jackson, Salma Hayek, Antonio Banderas, and Morgan Freeman. And it is directed by Patrick Hughes, who also directed the predecessor, The Hitman's Bodyguard. Just to start off with the positives, I thought, just like in the first movie, the dynamic between Ryan and Samuel is amazing. They have such a great chemistry with each other when it comes to characters where they hate each other so much, yet they have to work together to stop this common threat, and they always deliver very funny moments with each other, especially in the back half of the movie, and it's always so fun to see these two characters play off of one another, especially as it's two legends like Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson. It's so funny. It always leaves you entertained, and it always delivers whenever they have a moment on screen. But the acting here is good. It's good acting. Ryan Reynolds is great as Michael Bryce. He's funny, and he really lives in the moment on screen, and so as Samuel L. Jackson. But Salma Hayek is the true standout at the movie because while she had less screen time in the previous one, she is like at the forefront of this movie, and you see her like blazing guns, you see her like bat cursing, and you see her fighting bad guys and all that stuff, and her chemistry with the characters is terrific. It's real. She works really well off these characters, and it was really nice to see her at the forefront of this movie, especially as of course the movie's called Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, but it was really cool seeing them all together and seeing her like up her game, and seeing Salma at the front of the screen, and especially as being one of the more central characters. So that was great to see, and I thought they utilized her really well in this movie. Antonio Banderas is also a pretty good villain in this movie. He gives a good performance also. Oh, and Morgan Freeman is also in this movie too. Granted, I won't spoil what his role is, but when you watch it, you will be shocked at what it truly is. And it makes for some pretty good moments too, especially as, it's Morgan Freeman, for crying out loud. So definitely stay tuned. Do not look up what he is in this movie, because when you watch this movie, you will be shocked at who he plays in this movie. And it's worth it. Oh, and the movie is so funny. It is so filled with comedy, whether it's physical comedy, slapstick, and just verbal. It's so funny. From left to right, it's a lot of jokes, and it's really funny. And even just like in the first movie, when you have like a lot of those funny moments, they're in this movie, but I think there's a lot more of it this time around. So whether it lands or not is really kind of just up to you. But those who liked the physical comedy and all that stuff from the previous movie, you will most likely have a fun time with this movie, with all of its comedy, especially from Ryan Reynolds. I also think this movie is paced pretty well, actually. It's only like an hour and 40 minutes, and it goes by pretty quickly. I don't think there's a scene that slows the movie down for me. It works really well. It keeps going and going in a good way. For a movie that's an hour and 40 minutes, it's paced well, because from the start of the movie all the way till the end, it doesn't have a scene that halts the movie for a bit. It just goes and goes. It gets the story. And there's also not really a lot of subplots that I thought were pointless. I thought each of these plots, maybe some of those plots weren't the best, but I think they all helped add to the story at play. So that really helped the runtime and make sure that the movie goes as well as it can without any useless plot points. So that's another positive thing about the film. Now is the time where I start to talk about the negatives of this movie. The action sequences, they're both entertaining, but then they can also be pretty cartoonish. So if you come into this movie like you don't care about what the action sequences are going to be like, then you will not be bothered by it. But sometimes it can be a little bit hard to be convinced by the action sequences because they are very cartoonish. Like in the first movie, it's cartoonish, but it's more convincing than in this movie, because this movie, they do a lot of crazy stuff, and some of it can be over the top, and it can be very unrealistic. Like I know it's a movie, and they're still fun to watch. It's just sometimes they can be a little too much for some people, and that it's just a lot. They really kind of push the boundaries on the action sequences because they do a lot of insane stuff that realistically nobody would survive doing. So, yeah, it's more of like, it's not one of the least negative points on this movie, but it's more in the mixed area. So, not bad. Not entirely great either. It's definitely not the high point of the film. I also think the plot of this movie wasn't as good as the plot of the first movie. I think that here it involves like a guy who wants to start like a financial collapse in Europe, and a lot of the stuff they do, it's kind of crazy, not too realistic, and it kind of feels like it's kind of a step down in plot terms compared to the plot of the first movie, which is a lot more realistic and all that. But I think while it's just a movie where the cast and the humor is what makes this movie work, so not necessarily a movie where you should come for the plot, but I think the plot is definitely not the best part about the movie. It's a little crazy. In the end, I thought The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard is a fun time at the theater. It's not the best action movie ever made, but it's funny, it has a great cast, and it's fun all around. I'm going to give The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard a B. If you need downtime or a movie to just watch just to escape from the world, The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard is for you. If not, go see like F9 The Fast Saga. I don't know if I like this one more than the first movie, but I could say that this is a fun movie. It's fun to watch. It's definitely worth seeing if you're a fan of like Ryan Reynolds, Salma Hayek, Samuel Jackson, and the cast that's involved with the film. Those are my thoughts on Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. What did you think about this movie? Let me know down below in the comments section. Give this video a like and hit the subscribe button if you want to see more.